Hello everyone, this is part 8 of What If Naruto Was Betrayed and Planned It All, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
4 years ago. What do you mean Hidden is dead? That's not possible. The rasping voice said in the darkness. Apparently, it is, said the solid and authoritative voice in response. As I heard, he had it coming. He attacked someone recklessly without knowing their abilities, said a female voice. As much as you care for not underestimating an opponent, even you have to admit none of us could have predicted someone being able to kill us, let alone Hidden. He may have been an idiot of the highest level, but he was still one of the strongest of us, a deep, monotone voice said in response. This is so stupid, came a dull, female voice that sounded bored. Can we get to the point of this meeting? Asked the voice of a young man that sounded annoyed by the entire meeting. Fine, said the authoritative voice. The point of the meeting is that we are now down a member, and face the threat of someone who can kill us. Even if we cast Hidden out because he had no control, he was still a part of us and will be avenged. I know some of you never liked Hidden. For you I say you will cooperate, if for no other reason, to kill whoever it is that poses a threat to us. Oh come on, said a new, insane-sounding voice, can't we just get back to killing people? I wanted to test some more of my beautiful art. No, this is a threat that can't be ignored. Break. I immortal first Uzumaki. Naruto asked with awe in his voice. Well, I guess that was over-exaggerated in a moment of hubris. I can die. I can be killed. I just don't age. It would seem that the longevity I passed down originated from longevity that won't end anytime soon. I can be killed, it's just difficult. Roku said in response. Yes, Shenron said, even I didn't know about that part. So why didn't you tell me sooner? Naruto asked. He was actually here 3 years ago. He wanted to see how patient you would be if we told you to wait for information. You waited over 3 years. He was impressed. Shenron said. Alright, Naruto said before turning back to Roku, but why not show up before? Why wait until now? Roku closed his eyes and released a heavy sigh. I was once a man who intervened in wars, so as to spread peace. Though, I didn't stay, and most records of my existence were destroyed due to the chaos at that time. Eventually I was able to help calm the world. Eventually I found a wife, and passed down my Uzumaki blood. I created a home for my children in Azu no Kuni. But as years passed, wars began anew, people aged and faded away, even I am a relic of the past. The only difference is that I have had to watch as all I cared for withered, aged, and eventually died. Eventually I lost hope. I went into seclusion, wanting to live alone so that I couldn't watch the people I loved die anymore. Over time I did things. I helped bring prosperity to small villages, and yet they still slowly passed me by. But you give me a small spark of hope. Hope for what? Naruto asked. Hope for a way to once again do the job I believe is my responsibility. You have given me hope in some of your actions. People hated you, yet you persevered. When they betrayed you, you didn't surrender. You then managed to bring back our home, even though it was so damaged and behind a barrier. You have also brought together 3 of the Jinchuriki, including yourself, as well as Suna and Kiri. Things I didn't think possible. You have used yourself as a way to channel this alliance between them. Roku said with a small smile. Who knows, I might just, he said before going silent. What is it? Naruto asked. It's nothing. For now, Roku said. There was a pause. So perhaps you could show me to the rebuilt Azushio. I have been dying, so to speak, to see it. Naruto smiled. Of course. Naruto put his hand on Roku's shoulder before they disappeared. So what do you think is going to happen now, Shenron? Ru asked. I know you saw it. The entire time they talked, Naruto was calculating what Roku was going to do. Naruto has gotten stronger in the past 3 years. As powerful as Roku is, not even he can stop Naruto anymore. Though, that's only because of his unwillingness to kill him. Naruto is strong enough now that that would be the only way for Roku to stop him. Ru nodded. So now it all comes down to how quickly Roku will finally give in. Indeed. He thinks we don't know, but we can see it. Even if we haven't seen him in all of these years, we know. So what should we do then? Should we let them continue down this path? We deemed them both worthy. What they choose to do now is up to them. I refuse to be the cause of a fight between the two. What they choose is up to them. We won't intervene if that's what Roku chooses. Ru nodded in response. Then it's settled. Now the outcome of the world rests in Naruto's hands. Let's just hope we don't regret the decision later. On that point, you and I will never disagree. Break. Roku was looking out over the edge on top of the Azukage Tower with Naruto on his left, as well as Hinata, Shino, Fu, Yagura, and Anko behind them. They had become Naruto's own personal force over the years. Naruto, or perhaps I should say Lord Azukage, even I never saw how much Azugako had grown over the years. This is magnificent. The home I built for my family is now the home of my family and so much more. It was like this before it was destroyed, but I never saw it. Now I look at it, and I can hardly stop myself from crying. It is truly beautiful, Roku said. He looked down with his deactivated eyes to see women walking with small children or carrying infants, older children running around and playing games, other people walking around to finish whatever business they had, and even some shinobi on the rooftops. He enjoyed looking at the sight with his normal eyes so that he could see the details in their imperfection. With his Rinnegan, he could see most of the details in what he perceived as overly perfect. Every detail, flaw, and movement become clear to him, and he preferred to look at the world through his normal eyes. Naruto spoke up once he saw that Roku had composed himself. With the ability to open up small holes in the barrier, it became rather simple to set up an economy between Mizu and Azu. Setting up trade routes with K's was much more difficult, but not impossible. Come on, let's go to my office and we can talk about everything that we've been doing here. Of course, Roku said. His voice was calm, but Naruto could tell that he was holding back his emotions. He was still trying not to cry. They turned and the small group re-entered the building before descending to the level with Naruto's office. When they got there, Naruto opened the door and led the rest of them in. The office, which had once bore resemblance to the Hokage's, was now organized differently than before. The room seemed to have been expanded to make more room for the contents. In front of the window sat a large, brown desk with two small stacks of files and two baskets, with their own files in them, next to the small stacks. On each side of the desk were two metal filing cabinets with more baskets of files on top of them. There were two more desks in the exact same fashion on the right and left sides of the office. The desk in the middle had the pedestal with the barrier seal on the left side, while the desk to the left also had a door behind it leading to another room. In the corners were stacks of files in red, black, gold, and blue folders, each color taking up a corner of the room. In the middle of the room was a large, square, black table. On the table were several ceiling arrays over a world map that took up the middle of the table. The ceiling arrays then projected themselves upward to create a three-dimensional frame of the landscape. The projection was zoomed in so that details could be seen on the mountains. On the rest of the table were more files and notes. The most noticeable thing in the room was the army of Naruto Bunshin working at each area of the room. One sat at each desk doing different tasks. The one working on the desk to the right was working on reports and paperwork for the village. The one on the left was working on writing up reports of his own, reading reports on the soon-to-be Genin, and working on files and missions he had gotten from his associate villages. There was also a few Bunshin that went to the desk to talk with the one at the desk before taking seemingly random files and papers off the desk and through the door behind the desk. The desk by the windows had more visitors than the others. The desk had 3 Bunshin working at it, with other Bunshin coming and going to collect different colored files and putting them in their respective corners. The Bunshin seemed to all be moving chaotically through the room and across their tasks, yet at the same time, looking closely would reveal that there was a method to the madness. They all had their tasks and their own paths. Each and every one of the Bunshin worked around the table in the middle as clones worked on papers and notes as they all waved the hands across the projected map to move it around in different directions every time one of them bent down to make a note. Every so often some of them would pass on their notes to others, pass them to others who would take them to the center desk, or take them to the master clone at the middle desk themselves. The difference between the 3 events was that the times one took a file or note to the master clone, it took a few moments of them talking to establish the importance of whatever the Bunshin were discussing. Eventually the files would make their way to their individual corners. When Naruto himself walked in, they not only stopped what they were doing, they quickly put their papers down in an organized order. Once that was done, they all got into rows, with the ones from the other room coming in with a large scroll carried by the last one out, and stood at attention. Is that room ready? Naruto asked. The clone with the scroll tossed it to him while nodding. Good. All but the master cone, dispel. They instantly clasped their left arms behind their backs and their right fists over their hearts before dispelling. He tossed the scroll and one other over to the master clone along with another one. Go down to the other room and set up there. Create more clones once you're down there and continue working. Naruto said. The master Bunshin nodded before taking the second scroll and activating it. Lines flashed across the floor before chains came up out of the lines to wrap around the table and desks. Instantly they were gone as the seal retracted into the scroll. The clone stood up before disappearing in his Azu Shunshin. Naruto removed another scroll from his robes and activated it. The entire floor became an empty, black abyss as a large, round table and several chairs emerged. The darkness then disappeared in a swirl to show the floor once again. Alright, let's sit down. Naruto said as he took a seat. When everyone had taken a chair, Roku decided to voice his own question. I saw shinobi on the rooftops when we ourselves were on the roof. Many of them looked like children. Have you been training your own genin? Yes, and I take it very seriously. As a matter of fact, I intend on attending our fifth genin exam in a few days. Naruto said. So how have you been training them? It must be tough if there's already a genin graduating class in under 4 years. In a way, it is. Shino said. We have them all divided up in their first year and focus on specifics each of the 3 years. Next year another generation should be ready, though it will be smaller than this year's. How do you divide them, and what do you focus on? Roku asked. Naruto took over. The plan for dividing them for their first year was actually Hinata's idea. She proposed that in the first year they were divided up based on their chakra levels. The first year of their training focuses on chakra control and increasing reserves. The ones with larger reserves are focused more on control than increasing reserves, while the ones with smaller reserves focus more on building reserves than control. The goal was that by the end of the first year they could be put into the same classes on equal ground. And how did you determine their reserve level? Roku asked with a confused look. The 3 basic jutsu. The replacement, Bunshin, and Henge. Naruto said. I personally use a technique I developed to let other people use my chakra to use the Kage Bunshin jutsu. With that I'm able to have them learn the 3 basics in under a week. Based on their control and abilities with them, we can determine where they get sorted. During their time in the first year, we then have them working on chakra building and control exercises for the rest of that year. We also work on other basic jutsu and chakra nature, as well as the fact that by the end of the first year they should be able to create 2 or 3 Kage Bunshin. That is ingenious, but you teach them the Kage Bunshin? Roku asked. Yes. The goal is to not only expedite their advancements, but also to make them better than the genin from most other villages. And what of the other years? During the second year we focus on their physical training. Hinata said. We focus on teaching them maneuvers to use in combat, as well as taijutsu. Not only that, but we also work on weapons training. Then, the third year is focused on team training, more advanced jutsu, higher level weaponry skills, advancements in their chakra nature, how to better use jutsu outside of their nature, as well as how to handle enemies with Kekkei Genkai. Yagura said. And the Kage Bunshin allows them advance through those things faster. Roku said, as if he was contemplating the information. Naruto nodded. Tell me, is there some kind of doctrine you teach them? Roku asked. What do you mean? Naruto responded. Like Konoha's will of fire, or the old Kiri's bid for glory and power in the name of the bloody mist. Well, we have a few of them, if you can really call them doctrines. We don't really preach them all the time. However, I have to say that our most important one is definitely made known. Never compromise, not even in the face of Armageddon. I see, he said, pausing to think for a moment. And what about economy? If you're trying to move goods across the island, it can be difficult to get the means to transport the things you need. And coordination for that would require communications. Roku said. Well, that's mostly due to the land of snow. They have developed airships that have been very useful. Naruto said. The airships are actually in several classes. Warships, transports, cargo ships, carriers, cruisers, dreadnoughts, and balloons, name a few of them. The balloons are just large sacks of thick cloth with large containers hanging from the bottom, and powered by a furnace that supplies hot air. The balloons are mostly used for surveillance. The cargo ships are what matter though. They are one of the things we use to transport goods from Uzumaki to the shore and vice versa. And then for short journeys we just have transports. I really don't want to go into detail about all the other classes, though there are some other things that Snow developed for us. The first are some advancements towards our fleets of actual ships. We don't need many, seeing as how most other countries don't have more than supply ships, and we have Kiri on our side now. However, we have some in particular that make things very useful. Shino said. If you don't need ships because the rest of the world doesn't have them, then why make airships? Roku asked. It's not like we have billions of them awaiting orders. Naruto said. It took a long time to make the structures themselves. Though the same can be for one of our greatest ships. I will show it to you later. It took time to build these things, especially some of the large metal structures that make up a few of our airship classes. Anyways, we have one other development. It's called a locomotive. Tracks are set down on the ground for steam-powered carts linked together in long supply trains to travel across. Generally they're used for larger, and less fragile, materials, as well as freight, and ore. As for communications, we have radio towers and transceivers all over the island. It helps us communicate with the barrier teams. And communicating with them boosts our security. I see. How long did it take you to do all of this? To be honest, it was only finished recently. Our fleets of airships, the communications array, the tracks for the locomotives, and the shinobi training for our first Genin was all only completed a short time ago. The same can be said for the complete recovery of our allies, Suna and Kiri. They have been recovering. We have been communicating with them, and sometimes I go meet their cage myself. Especially Suna's. Now, why don't we go see those special feats of engineering I was talking about? Break. After an hour, Naruto and the rest were standing on top of a fortress on the edge of High no Kuni. They looked over the water at the amazing ship they saw. The Fugaku. The ship itself looked like it might as well be its own capital. If such a structure were to be on land, it would take armies to effectively surround it. It was actually made up of 3 massive ships, held together by the very fortress they supported. There were buildings that were meant for housing, large platforms for training, rest, or to be lookout, a large castle-like building in the center, as well as massive areas covered in trees and water. The areas like that were meant for the crew to have a sense of land, or just peace, when it was needed. The ship was propelled by vast sails that were mounted on multiple locations on the fortress. On the sides were colossal water wheels that would help move the ship faster, or move period in the case of a day with wind that was to light. While not visible, there were also fin-like structures along the bottoms of the ship. The most notable feature of the ship was its main weapon. All along the ship there were holes for cannons and such, but none compared to the primary weapon of the Fugaku. The 11-foot cannon. The cannon was much longer than 11 feet, as the number referred to the width of the opening. The black cannon had 2 distinguished features apart from the size. The first was the giant, metal ogre face under the base, and the large golden plating around the opening. That is the greatest thing I have ever seen. Roku said. You think that's great? You should see what else it can do. You see, the hard part about the structure was those wheels on the sides are able to lower themselves. In essence, the mammoth-sized furnaces we have on that thing fuel the wheels. That's why those wheels had to be so massive and intricate. With the weight of the fortress on anything less, the ship would fall apart under its own weight. Though, using seals to strengthen the integrity has to help. Are you trying to tell me that the Fugaku is able to travel on land as well? With terrain wide and flat enough, yes. I have another mobile fortress, but we can take a look at that later. So then, what about all of your other plans? Roku asked. Well, for now I have a short list that covers a good bit. Take care of the Akatsuki first. I can't have such a powerful group just running around. Though, the plan is to try and recruit the organization over to my side. Though I know that some of them won't be convinced, I can try. Next on the list is that snake Orochimaru. Some of the ex-Oto nin have come to talk to me. They like what I've done for them, but a lot of them still have people they care about with Orochimaru. Most of Oto is just bases around the nations, but the man does have a small village/headquarters hidden in the Land of Sound, north of High no Kuni and west of the Land of Hot Water. Once that snake is gone, I intend on putting that village to good use, as well as using the several bases to help keep footholds across the nations when they're needed. And what about any other plans? Naruto sighed. Could you leave us for the time being? He said to the others. In moments, Naruto and Roku were alone. The dragons have no doubt told you about me, my past and my plans. Why do I need to tell you what you already know? They told me what they could. Naruto asked. Roku gave a small smile. They told me what you told them, and what little they could see. What do you mean? They have always had a knack to see people's intentions and thoughts. As much as I try to hide it, I know they can see right through me. It's all I can do to hide the fact that I know. Though, it's not too hard to see through me. I've always worn my mind and heart on my sleeves. But you, they can't get much out of you. My guess, you have had too much practice hiding your true face for someone your age. Not only that, but I can see something that they can't. And what would that be? Something dark. But it isn't you. Even worse, it's certainly not Kyuubi. He prefers Kurama. Naruto said. You're changing the topic. Roku said. No, simply stating a fact. As for that dark thing you see, me and him have an understanding. So to speak. What do you mean? Roku asked, deciding to ignore the him part for now. I'm not at liberty to say. All you need to understand is that until such a time as I am broken, he is nothing more than a voice that sometimes nags me. And I have no intention of being broken. Noted. He sighed. Naruto, what you need to understand is that everyone has a bit of darkness, it's a part of us. But that isn't why I wanted to talk to you so much. Roku said before he started pacing slowly. Eventually he came to stand at the edge of the roof. Naruto, you have given me hope, as I already told you. That is why, for the time being, I will stand next to you for your goals. But understand something, he said before turning to face Naruto, I am so tired. Here soon, I will give you the last gift I can. My legacy, so to speak. I am so tired of this world. Now, those other plans. Break. Gara was standing on the roof when he felt the presence appear behind him. It's been a while. Gara said. Yes, it has. I don't live close enough to visit as often as I would like to. Naruto said. I completely understand. Is it time? Gara asked. Yes. Get everyone ready to move, and cut off all ties to Konoha. Communication, aid, and all other ties. Gara said as a smile grew on his face. Have we started the fire? Naruto smirked. Yes, and the fire rises. So are you going after the Akatsuki soon? Yes. And after I'm done with them, Orochimaru is next up to the chopping block. Then Konoha. Break. Chronicle woke after the memory. It was frightening him how quickly they were starting to come back. He had the same dream as before, the one where men had come into their home and dragged him out. This time though, it was clearer. His mother, who had dark hair like his and dark blue eyes, was frantically trying to get him and his sister, which he had failed to see last time, to follow her to the rooms. His mother had dark brown, curly hair like his and dark green eyes. He was unable to see many of the details about his sister apart from her blue eyes. Then they were pulled outside. As he looked, he could see hundreds of people brandishing weapons. He saw that in the horde of people there was someone shooting fire at the crowd. Then time slowed down as it had before. He could hear the scream and turned to see his mother having her throat cut open. That was when he heard the same roar as before and woke up. I remember that bandits had killed them, and I was eventually able to track down those who did it. But, ironically enough, I only just remembered what my mother looked like. He chuckled slightly. I went through all of the trouble of tracking him down and wiping him out, only now to regret not waiting so that I could have her face in my mind when I did it. My past is forgotten for whatever reason, and my name was forgotten due to the time I went without using it. But, it is starting to come back. He had always remembered that his parents were killed, the face of the person who had been in charge, and where he had lived once before, but when he had gone there looking for answers there was nothing more than the burnt skeleton of a home. He had then gone through the agonizing process of finding people who might have seen what happened. He then used every bit of information he could to track down the people responsible. That was after he had seen his mentor for the last time. She had died a year after the joint operation. 1 year after he became Chronicle. After that he had buried her as best he could and left. Though he didn't leave until after he had gone through her notes and such. He had eventually found a journal with her real name in it. It was probably one of his most prized possessions. He heard a knock at the door. When he opened it, he saw the leader of his organization's current host country. Naruto, how can I help you? For the past year and a half, he and his organization had taken residence in a zoo. They didn't have a home nation, and Naruto had offered him a place to stay in the hidden village. May I come in? I have some things I want to talk to you about. Sure, Chronicle said as he moved out of the way to let Naruto walk in. They both took a seat in the two small chairs Chronicle had. The first thing I wanted to ask you about was using your spy networks for an operation I'm working on. Of course. I told you that so long as you have my support, you have my resources as well. So what's the other thing? It might be nothing, but could you tell me how old you are? Chronicle sighed. I told you about how my memory is. I don't know much from before I actually became Chronicle. But, if I had to speculate, I would say somewhere just over 30. Why? For now, it's nothing. Forget I asked. Naruto said. Break. Naruto stood in the middle of the clearing. He felt ridiculous. He was in a larger version of his original, orange tracksuit. Anko, if this doesn't help, I swear that you're going to be put on patrol of the barrier for a month. He said. Oh come on, you said we need him to underestimate you. What better way than by dressing in that ridiculous outfit? Anko's voice said in his ear. She was trying not to laugh. Naruto could hear it. He had spent the last several hours with Chronicle's spy networks, and his own, on high alert as he did everything in his power to retract the Akatsuki. He had managed to gain the information that Itachi and Kisame had been sent out to try and capture him. Some of their other members were also being sent to meet up with them on their way towards him. However, he decided to intercept the pair he was after at the moment. Anko, if the plan fails and I dressed up like this for nothing. I get patrol duty, I know. She sounded like a child reacting to being nagged. Before he could respond, he heard what he was waiting for. He heard a branch break under someone's foot. His face slipped into a large smile as he put his hands behind his head and leaned his weight to the side slightly. In moments he saw what he was waiting for as Itachi and Kisame walked into the clearing. They stopped instantly. Hey there Itachi. Long time, no see. How have things been? Naruto, it's time you came with us. Itachi said in an emotionless voice. Forgive me Naruto. I despise Konoha because of what they did to you, but my goal is to protect Sasuke, even if that means protecting Konoha. Even if that means I need to attack you, and kill you. Even if it means I must work with the Akatsuki. He thought to himself. Oh you ruined the reunion. I might cry. Naruto said, his voice still sounding like he was just a child in a grown body. Come on Itachi, let's cut off his legs and get going. Kisame said. How about a deal? Naruto said. If you can subdue me, even for the most split of moments, without using your sword, he said while pointing at Kisame, or your Sharingan, he said, pointing at Itachi, I will surrender and go with you willingly. Why on earth should we bother with that? Kisame asked. Because I could always create several million cage bunchen to keep you occupied while I disappear, never to be seen by you again until a sword is buried in your backs. Naruto said as if it was that simple. He started to stand up straight, but the smile never faded. Let's just accept. It won't be hard to bring down a brat. If he's willing to surrender that easily, then there is no point letting him run away. Remember last time. He is fully capable of running and leaving us to fight clones. Itachi said. He just wanted to get it over with. Fine. Kisame grumbled, sounding like a child being told to put his candy bar back. He took Samehada, shark skin, off of his back and leaned it against a tree. When he turned back to Naruto, he cracked his neck and prepared to subdue Naruto without too much effort. Good. They still underestimate my power. Too bad. I would have shown them my true power if they hadn't allowed the plan to advance. Naruto thought to himself. Naruto started laughing. Now, let's see if you can win. He then created so many clones that they were coming out of the trees. Itachi and Kisame were instantly put on the defensive as the clones came from all directions, each using a different combination of attacks to keep the two Akatsuki from retaliating. Itachi was forced to bring up his left knee to block a kick to the stomach and instantly turned around to parry a blow to his head. However, he couldn't block every blow as he felt a jab at his knees, his solar plexus, and then his shoulders. He could feel various blows and jabs at different areas of his body. He was dispelling some clones but couldn't get out of it. He quickly took a small opening to draw a tanto and start cutting away at the bunchen. His blade then met with another as some of the bunchen drew their blades. He blocked and parried some of them but took some cuts to his arms and torso. However, he also managed to land some hits and dispel some clones. He even had to dodge some jutsu while also firing off some of his own. Itachi stuck his blade in the throat of one while also landing a kick in the center of a clone's chest. With the opening he then managed to jump into the air and use a Kaiten jutsu that kicked up dust and smoke as bunchen were dispersed by the dozens. When he landed he didn't expect to be assaulted so quickly. As the smoke and dust cleared he saw that Kisame was in no better condition. How could he have been so foolish to not expect Naruto to get stranger? He could see that one-on-one he would have ended Naruto easily. The blows were weak and uncoordinated. But the sheer numbers forced him to admit that he should have seen it coming. He saw the black and green blades in each clone's hands, with some holding Rasengan, about to end him. Susanoo! Itachi yelled as his Sharingan flared to life and twisted into its Mangekyo form. He was shocked to see the world around him shift and fade away. He was on his knees and turned to see Kisame in the same situation. He then also felt the lack of strain on his eyes caused by the Susanoo. He didn't even feel his Sharingan active at all. It had gotten him out of the Genjutsu before deactivating. Why was he so tired? He looked up to see Naruto standing there. Itachi fell over onto his side right about the same time that Kisame did, however, his teammate still convulsed slightly. They had been trapped in a Genjutsu. Thank you for being my perfect guinea pig. Naruto said. You underestimated me and paid for it. Naruto walked over to Itachi before crouching next to him. You see, I was able to trick you and Kisame there to leave out your biggest threats to me. That sword of his could alter his chakra flow, and your Sharingan could see through Genjutsu. Once they were out of the way I simply blended reality and illusion. I created so many bunchen to attack you, then I had 4 multi-layered Genjutsu woven around the both of you. Even you can't handle that many Genjutsu when the only thing they're doing is hiding minor details. They allowed me to get a couple of people in close. Naruto said before Hinata and Shino were standing next to him. You see, those jabs you felt, the lack of chakra so great that your Sharingan couldn't even stay active, and your inability to even move. Those things were caused by the actual damage the bunchen did, the work of Hinata here hitting several of your chakra points, Shino absorbing most of your chakra with his insects, and then Anko using her snakes to fill your bodies with a paralyzing agent. Anko is with you. I forgot about that bit of intel. Itachi said as Anko walked up as well. But, even we didn't know about those two. He said, looking at Hinata and Shino. Now then, I'm going to give you a mild sedative so that we can take a trip, old friend. Naruto said before Anko applied a sedative to both Itachi and Kisame. Kisame was out of the illusion and Naruto had a clone seal Samehada into a scroll. The clone had multiple wounds on its hands from where the sword had attacked out of aggravation. Let's get them back to Izu. We're one step closer to finally getting control of the power we're going to need. Naruto said. We have work to do. Break. Itachi was forced awake by a rotten smell. When he opened his eyes he saw Naruto standing there, putting away a small vial containing a viscous liquid. He was standing there in his entirely black cloths with his Izukage robe. These liquid-smelling salts are infinitely useful. Naruto said. Now, on to business, he said before pulling a stool out of the corner and sitting down. They were inside of a small, wooden room. There was nothing on the walls or floors apart from the several seals that spread across the walls like chains. Itachi was sitting in the only furniture apart from the stool, a simple wooden chair. He noticed that he was unrestrained, but then realized that the seals were the restraints. So, let's get on with why you are trying to kill me. You were once like an older brother to me, Itachi. Not only that, but the entire time you were free of Genjutsu, I saw regret in your eyes. Are you truly with the Akatsuki just to protect Konoha, or just Sasuke? If it's just to protect Konoha, Naruto said, his voice growing cold, then I will kill you now. No matter how close we were before, I will not allow you to stop Konoha's destruction. Though, I guess I could just seal you in a scroll until this all blows over and afterwards you can once again stand by me as you did before. His voice returned to normal. If it is only to protect Sasuke, then you can join me without worry. I have no intention of killing Sasuke. Unless of course, He gives me no other choice. So, what do you say, my friend? I simply want to protect Sasuke. Konoha can burn. I still love the ideals it once stood for, but they have become something that must be destroyed so that it can be rebuilt on the structure it once stood for. Itachi said, sitting up. As for the Akatsuki, you should know. I know all about them. Have for a long time. You realize that your partner is sadistic, right? Naruto said, changing the topic for the moment. Itachi nodded. Shino and Anko have been getting along quite well with him actually. It's creepy. Naruto said. However, Kisame is still against my offer to join us. What about you though? Itachi nodded. The fact that you won't hurt my brother means that I have no reason not to join you, and all the reason to do so. You're my friend Naruto, I'll join you. Naruto stood up, smiled, and made a small hand seal. The seals on the walls disappeared. Allow me to introduce you to my home. Allow me to show you Uzumaki. Itachi's face was priceless. Come with me, Naruto said as he helped Itachi stand. Itachi noticed that he was no longer wearing his Akatsuki cloak. Naruto led him out of the room and down a series of halls. They asked each other a few questions about what they had been doing over the year, however, Naruto avoided any questions about where they were or what was going on. Eventually they came to a door that Naruto made a show of opening. Itachi could not have possibly seen what was behind that door coming. Naruto, what is that? That is one of the ships in my air fleet. Its name is Shiva, Naruto said as he also looked at the massive, metal structure. The structure itself weighs more than I know. The only reason it gets off the ground is because of the gravity seals embedded into the metal. It forces the gravity to affect the ship at less than 1,000 times normal. It makes fueling, and flying, the ship laughably easy. Getting the thing off the ground only requires taking it straight up. Wait, airships? Itachi asked. Yes, we have Snow to thank for our fleet. Shiva was a warship that expanded left and right in front of them so that they were looking at its left side. The outer armor of the ship was mostly white, with brown designs on some parts. The inside of the armor showed that there was a mostly open area. In that open area there were large platforms that connected two of the large outer plates. The platforms were meant for shinobi to walk across and fire of jutsu towards the ground. The platforms were only connected to armor, therefore the shinobi had to descend to the platforms via ladders on either side of the bridge-like platforms. Itachi also noticed several other mechanisms and structures that were part of the ship, however, Naruto told him they were moving on. As Itachi followed Naruto he saw a group of people who were playing a card game. Hello, Joe, Naruto said. The man he was talking to had light, red armor, dark gray hair that came down to form two large sideburns, as well as light brown eyes. It's good to see you again, Lord Uzumaki. The fact that you're here with Itachi Uchiha of all people means you must be here to take Shiva up. Yes, turning him to our side wasn't as hard as you thought it would be. It didn't even take a full minute, let alone half an hour. Naruto said. Joe sighed and handed Naruto 50 ryo. Alright, give us a minute and we'll have it ready to launch. Joe said, sounding depressed. He had lost a bet. I'll be waiting on the bridge. Naruto said. Eventually Naruto was standing next to Itachi on what Itachi assumed was the bridge of the ship. He saw that a large portion of the floor and most of the walls were made out of glass. He could tell that it was so that people could see where the ship was going. Itachi saw that Hinata, Shino, Anko, and a few people he had never met before were standing around as well. Though, he did recognize a few of them from a report on the Sound 4. Those people you don't know will be introduced to you later. Naruto had told him when they had boarded. He looked down to see the ground far below them. This is Uzu no Kuni. I was able to rebuild it over the years, and it's where I've been hiding out all this time. This is why no one could find me. They were all looking in the wrong places. Naruto said. This is amazing. You actually managed to revive this place. Not even Jiraiya could bring down the barrier seal. And yet, you not only did that, but you rebuilt this entire island nation in 4 years. Of course Jiraiya couldn't. The seal goes deeper into the mechanics of a sealing than even he could work out. The seal itself is multi-layered. That's how it generates the field that we call the barrier so easily. Jiraiya might be good at sealing jutsu, but there are only a few sealing masters alive right now and Jiraiya isn't one of them. Naruto said. Are you? Of course. Naruto said. Would you like to meet another later on? It would be a pleasure to meet someone of such skill. Good. Later on I will introduce you to my grandfather. Your grandfather? Yes. Kamaji was one of the largest reasons I was even able to survive getting out of Konoha. Did you know who my mother was? Itachi sighed. Yes. I take it you know of your parents then. Why do you ask? When she was taken to Konoha, my grandfather, Kamaji, followed her so that he could watch over her. When I was betrayed, I let them lock up a cage Bunshin. As I ran, the first passed out and woke up in his home. He then explained how he was my grandfather. It was actually because of him that I was able to do anything other than walk away from Konoha, if I had survived. Well, that aside, let's head to a place where we can sit down and talk about everything that has happened and everything that will. Break. So tell me, Kisame, why are you with the Akatsuki? The Naruto clone asked. Kisame, like Itachi, was unrestrained. However, when he tried to attack Naruto, he was easily put back into his chair. I don't answer to you. Kisame responded. You're going to be stuck in here until you cooperate with me. Screw you. You're going to make this difficult. Perhaps Zabuza or Yagura could convince you to cooperate. Yagura was never anything more than a puppet, and Zabuza was a fool who tried to kill him. The fact that Zabuza is even still alive surprises me. I already knew about Yagura being a puppet. As for Zabuza, I could still restrain you and let him kill you. Or I could do it myself and give Samehada to someone else. Won't work. It would never allow that to happen. The blade was made with seals. Kisame, do you think it cannot be adjusted? I would hate to do that to such a weapon, but I could. There was a pause. You cheated. What do you mean? I didn't use Samehada and you still used a million clones. I told you that as long as you two didn't use the agreed upon items, I wouldn't use my clones to help me run away. I simply made a ton of clones to make you both miss the genjutsu that was cast on the both of you. But, I suppose I should let you in on a secret. What do you mean? Kisame asked, giving the clone an odd look. Naruto had touched his curiosity. Every human being's weakness is curiosity. Naruto thought to himself. I will tell you where you are so long as you agree to be more cooperative. And how would I know you aren't lying? Fine, I will show you where you are. I will let you out of here if you will simply be more courteous to your host. Naruto said. Kisame gave a small growl. Fine. Glad we could reach an agreement. Naruto said before simply opening the door to the room they were in. The door was unlocked. Kisame asked, bewildered. Of course. It's not like you could have gotten to it anyways. Kisame knew Naruto was right. Ever since he had tried to attack Naruto, he couldn't even get out of his chair, much less reach the door. With the seals disabled, Kisame followed Naruto out of the door and into the hall. He was able to see that not only was the room they were in not a dungeon, they were on ground level. He was able to look out the windows and see the ground. You didn't keep me in a secure location. Kisame said, giving a small tease. Not very smart. The walls of your room were lashed with seals you couldn't see, and the ones you could see were only visible because I wanted them to be. If I hadn't been in there, the seals would have been set to shock you if you had so much as touched the walls too hard, same for if you had tried to open the door. If I had wanted to, I could have activated the gravity seals and made it too much for you to stand, much less move. This is probably the most comfortable prison you will ever find. It's still a prison. Sometimes the rules, logic, and so many other things can be prisons. Please don't complain, Naruto said as they got outside. Kisame could feel his strength coming back because of the lack of seals, and didn't see, or sense, anyone around. This was his chance. Just because the seals aren't holding you back doesn't mean you can get away. Naruto said. You have no idea where you are, or what you would be dealing with. Kisame calmed down and kept walking. Hey brat, when are you going to tell me where I am? In a moment, Naruto said. As they walked, Kisame started to assess Naruto. He took note that he was no longer in orange, but in black clothing. He also took note of the black and green blade that Naruto had used during their fight. You mind telling me how I was defeated? The last thing I remember was seeing your blade coming toward me, and then blacking out before it ever touched me. You were in a genjutsu. What I didn't tell Itachi was that the genjutsu slowly got more complex as time went on. It slowly transitioned the both of you so that you couldn't tell the difference between the illusion and reality. You were caught in it and eventually I sedated you and Itachi. Your own arrogance cost you. It only hid that certain people went in and did multiple things to subdue you. Though I must admit, the fact that you underestimated me was the key to all of it. I'd have had a fallback plan of course, but you gave me the key to using plan A, but, I guess you could say that it was Itachi's underestimation of me. You wanted to use same Hada regardless, even though you did think I was weak either way. Thanks for that. I'll be sure to remember. Kisame said. He then looked up to see a large tower. However, as he looked around he also noticed the streets devoid of life. We're in a village, one with a powerful leader if the tower is any indication, yet there are no people. What's going on here? Kisame asked. Yes, just wait till you see what village. Naruto said with an amused tone. As for the people, there is a currently enemy shinobi in their streets. They are staying well away from you. Naruto said. A few moments passes and they entered the tower before walking straight towards a lift. When they got on, Naruto quickly set the device to take them to the roof. So I take it I'll get my answers when we get off this elevator? Kisame asked. Yes, Naruto said before placing his hand on Kisame's shoulder. Be patient. Once you see where we are, then you will answer some of my questions. He said before removing his hand as the lift came to a stop at the roof. Naruto stepped off and walked towards the ledge. As Kisame came up behind him he turned around and spoke. Welcome Kisame. You're standing in Uzumaki. Kisame looked out over the landscape that spanned as far as he could see. It was amazing. That's not possible, Kisame said. For years Kiri had people working on the sealing mechanisms and still couldn't get the barrier down. I find it amazing you don't think this is fake. You said impossible, not fake. Naruto said. It can't be fake. I've been here before, during a break after the end of a war. Before this place was ever destroyed. You're too young to have seen this place, and the paintings don't do it justice. But this is exactly as I remember it. I can't believe I didn't recognize the tower before, but I have stood up here before and looked out at the land. How did you do this? I'm an Uzumaki, as is my grandfather. My mother was as well. With the help of my mother's notes on the barrier and my grandfather's direct help I was able to open Uzu no Kuni. This is my home, Naruto said as he also turned to look at the landscape. Just looking at this, I'll answer some of your questions, Kisame said. Break. Naruto and Itachi now sat in a meeting room on board the Shiva. Naruto had long before opened the barrier so that the ship could head outward. He and Naruto were alone as the group of people that had joined them stayed on the bridge. The room they were in had a large table with multiple chairs. The table itself sat on a glass floor that allowed him to see below. It took some getting used to for Itachi. So, you're saying that the Madara that helped me kill my clan was probably the same fate that caused the Kyuubi attack? Itachi asked. Yes, Naruto responded. This has been a lot to take in. Uzu, Kamaji, the plans to destroy Konoha, Chronicle, Roku, the Uzumaki, all of this. I have to wonder if I'm still stuck in that genjutsu, or perhaps I'm still asleep. Itachi said. Yes, it is a lot to take in, but you aren't sleeping nor are you in a genjutsu. And now there's this madness you've dragged me into with the Akatsuki leader. I understand wanting to get him on your side so that Madara can't control such an organization, but he won't go down nearly as easily as I did. He won't underestimate you. The fact that you're a Jinchuriki, of the Kyuubi no less, is reason enough for him to go all out on you. Itachi said. Yes, I know. The Rinnegan will make him a worthy adversary to test my strength against. Naruto said. Not only that, because of your depth into the organization with Madara, I have a piece of information that makes Nagato important to me. He is an Uzumaki. That might allow me to recruit him like I did you. Though it won't be nearly as easy. Of course it won't, Itachi said. You will be taking on the entirety of the Akatsuki, including Madara. Are you sure that is a good idea? Ye of little faith, Naruto said. So, are you ready for your fist mission under my command? Break. So tell me Kisame, why are you with the Akatsuki? Naruto asked. They were now sitting in his office. I can't tell you that, Kisame said. Is it because of Madara? Naruto asked. He saw Kisame flinch slightly. I already know about him being part of the organization, so you might as well tell me. Kisame tried to play it off. I don't know what you're talking about. Kisame, don't answer me all you like, Naruto said as his voice grew cold, but do not lie to me. The way Naruto spoke caused Kisame to question if he was still dealing with the same person that he and Itachi had gone after all those years ago. Kisame never responded. Why? Naruto asked. I won't tell you that. Kisame said. A lot of trust and loyalty for someone you don't know the true identity of. Naruto said. What do you mean? Oh, so you didn't know? Naruto said in an amused tone. Madara has been dead for a long time. The Madara you know helped Itachi kill his clan and was behind the Kyuubi attack all those years ago. Even the Kyuubi will attest to the fact that it wasn't Madara who has been behind these things. However, I don't know who he is either. Naruto said. I don't believe you. Kisame said. You don't have to. The point is that until I came along, neither you nor Itachi knew. Good thing Itachi believes me. You still haven't told me where Itachi is. Kisame said. He is with the real me off the island. He has already joined me. Naruto said. I have explained to him most of my plans and such, and he decided to join an old friend. What are you talking about? You can ask Itachi later. For now I'm going to take you to your living quarters, let you think about everything I've told you. Break. It had been several days since Naruto had talked to Itachi and Kisame, and he had been able to get Kisame to open up more with Itachi's help, though he was still resisting Naruto's offers to join. Progress had been swift as Naruto had taken the time to start putting together a plan to take on the rest of the Akatsuki. He had people preparing and had clones working round the clock on several projects. Hinata and Itachi were walking down one of the halls in Naruto's tower at the center of the village. As they approached a door to their right, they stopped as it was blown off its hinges and into the wall on their left, a plume of smoke following it out of the room. Embedded in the wall, along with the door, was Naruto. He was covered in dust and started to stand back up. He coughed a little before brushing some of the dust off. He looked at them. Well, that didn't work, he said before walking back into the room, which had started venting out at this point. Hinata and Itachi walked in and watched as Naruto jotted down some notes. Alchemical sealing jutsu failed. Literally instant ramen trial 4, another failure. Naruto mumbled to himself. Naruto, what are you doing? Itachi asked. Well, I learned recently that sealing jutsu were based off of techniques that existed before chakra was actually usable. Naruto said, turning to them briefly before turning back to the source of the smoke. There was a sealing array on a desk, a burnt bowl of ingredients sitting in the middle of it. I was able to uncover some documents about the origins of sealing jutsu. The Sage of Six Paths was using sealing jutsu not long after people were able to use chakra. So, I realized that it had to originate somewhere. Before the use of chakra, people took what are now sealing arrays to take energy and matter from within the immediate surrounding area of the array to shift the matter into desired objects or formations. When chakra came into play, the old ways were lost because the gain outweighed the loss in most people's eyes. Sealing arrays can't shift matter like it could before, but the wider variety of uses were still amazing. Naruto said, jotting down some more notes. I'm still experimenting with it, but I think I will soon be able to incorporate the old ways of using these arrays into Izu's sealing techniques. No one could possibly see it coming. It would be a lot like using jutsu, though not nearly as powerful, but also not as time-consuming when done right. He said, turning around to look at them. That's amazing. Itachi said. What were you trying to do there? He said, pointing towards the still smoking bowl. Well, I got hungry. Naruto said, a grin on his face. I was trying to create instant ramen. Hinata sighed and put a hand to her face. Some things will never change, she thought to herself. Now, because they had no chakra at the time, they had to actually draw these sealing arrays. However, I was able to discover that I can achieve similar results when using my chakra to create a sealing array. It took some time, but by studying summoning jutsu I was able to discover how to make these arrays without taking the time to draw them out. Naruto, as interesting as this all is, the test is about to begin. Perhaps the Azuki should make his appearance. Itachi said. Yes. Thank you, Itachi. Naruto said as he put on his Azuki robe. As they left, Itachi went on ahead while Hinata walked next to Naruto. Hinata. Naruto said, getting her attention. When this business with the Akatsuki and Orochimaru is over, we're going ahead with Phase 4. I'm counting on you, Hinata. Are you ready for this? Naruto said, coming to a stop as he finished. Hinata hesitated as Naruto looked her in the eyes. Don't worry, Naruto. I'm ready. Konoha will expect a war, that's for sure. But the war you have planned, they won't even be able to comprehend it. It will be a war they won't even believe. They won't be able to believe what happened next, even while it's happening. Hinata responded. Good, Naruto said. As they continued walking, Naruto finally spoke again. They were getting close to the large coliseum. Hinata, perhaps after we handle the Akatsuki, we could do something. What are you asking, Naruto? Things are coming to a head. I don't want this to end with the possibility that things might never change. You still haven't said what you're trying to say, Naruto. She said. Her face said it all. She was enjoying his hesitation. Hinata, don't make me say it. You know what I'm trying to say. Yes, I know. Just promise that one day you'll actually say it. Other than that, of course. She said, stopping to wrap him in a hug. Of course, Naruto said, returning the embrace. When they finally parted, they continued walking. They were sitting down in the Colosseum. The Colosseum itself was rather large. Naruto knew that it could hold anywhere between 50,000 and 80,000 spectators. And all of those seats were full. Around him and Hinata sat Itachi, Chronicle, Shino, Roku, and Kisame, though Kisame was having his chakra suppressed by several complex seals. Anko was out of the village for the time being, working on a mission for Naruto. He was able to see a few others sitting in the crowd. One of which was Mei and her 2 bodyguards. They sat there for a moment before someone came over and told Naruto that they were ready to begin. Naruto stood up and walked over to a nearby platform so that just about everyone could see him. It took a few moments for the cacophony of the crowd to become silent, but when they did, Naruto waited a moment before speaking loud enough for everyone to hear. Welcome everyone. You have all been with us a very long time. You have stood by me in this village, allowing it to grow into what it has become. We all know that the time to reveal ourselves is coming. We all know why. We cannot avoid the spy and information networks of others much longer. We are growing too strong for that. We shall show the world that we exist on our terms, not theirs. So, we now need a new generation of protectors. Protectors of our people, of our ideals, and our home. This has been a long time in the making. And I owe it all to you, the great people who have fueled the dream to rebuild this great village. We, as a people and as a true symbol of what a nation should be, shall not bow to the wishes of the world. We shall meet this world on equal footing. And then, long after we are gone, this great village will endure. You great people and your descendants will all endure. I am proud to say that this is my village, no, that this is our village. Now, without further ado, let us begin the trial that shall test the worth of our up-and-coming protectors. This may only be again an exam, but in my eyes it is so much more. It is the start of a new chapter in the lives of those who advance. It is the event that will determine the worth of these shinobi. Now, I give things over to the proctor. Let the first match to begin. Naruto left the small platform to go sit with the others again. Don't you think that was a little over the top, Naruto? Shino asked. Not at all. With everything that's coming, these people need something like that. They need these words. Besides, it wasn't a lie. It was all true. These new Genin are protectors of the village. This place couldn't have truly been rebuilt without these people. And finally, after I'm gone and you are gone and they are gone, this village will endure. The descendants of these people will carry on the mantle of this village long after we are gone. These words are needed now, when they can set in stone what needs to be set in stone. Naruto said. Shino nodded. He understood now. Then they heard the proctor announce the first matchup. Most of the crowd was shocked. Only Naruto, Hinata, and Shino knew that this would happen. It was a match between a young Genin named Kyuzo. Kyuzo fought more like a samurai, preferring his swords to his other techniques. The boy was usually silent, and didn't make any effort to be part of a conversation. Naruto had to say that he was rather skilled, wielding double blades that fit into one sheath on his back. The sheath had the dual blades coming over his left shoulder and past his right hip. Kyuzo had short, shaggy blonde hair, brown eyes, and wore mostly red. He wore a long, red coat that went to just above his ankles and had dark red lines going down the sides of his arms, as well as dark red straps. There were 2 long strips that went down the front of the coat to allow for mobility. His underclothing and shoes were black. His opponent was what truly shocked the crowd. It was not another Genin hopeful, but Tayuya. As they were both standing in the middle of the arena, there was no noise. Even the proctor hadn't expected to have read this off of his charts. The proctor looked at Naruto for confirmation. He only received a simple nod. Begin. Kyuzo didn't waste time asking why he was fighting an elite Junin, instead drawing his swords and rushing in. Tayuya drew out her own kunai and threw them at the boy, only to have them deflected. Kyuzo was quick to jump over the blade of wind that Tayuya had sent at him. When he got closer, she pulled out her flute and pushed a button so that the instrument extended into a metal pole. She used the metal pole to easily block all of his well-aimed slices. Tayuya saw an opening and slammed the pole into Kyuzo's ribs. The boy flinched but stayed silent, quickly retreating. Without letting him catch his breath, Tayuya rushed him and tried to attack him with the metal pole. Kyuzo quickly dodged her attacks only for her to jab him in the sternum while he was still in the air. Kyuzo gasped in pain. He quickly got to his feet and prepared to fight her again. He saw her flute fold in on itself before she started to play it. He quickly ran, trying to stop her from casting a genjutsu on him. He could feel the illusion wrapping around him before he quickly sheathed one of his swords to stab his free hand. While the pain helped, he was also trying to fend off the illusion that she was continuing to cast. He was unable to keep it up and finally fell on his face. The match was over. How do you expect to really test them against opponents so superior to them? Roku asked Naruto. Just watch. Naruto said. Hours passed as they watched the several dozen Genin hopefuls fight, all of them losing their matches. They all put up as much of a fight as they could, but none of them could win. Then the last match was about to be declared. The match was to be for the Genin Kikuchio. The boy was young, but at the same time stood slightly taller than Naruto. He was known for getting angry easily and often causing trouble with his loud noise and sometimes clumsy ways. He reminded Naruto of himself, as was loyal, and he sought recognition. When given true recognition, he would return favors fourfold. Coming from Snow, Kiku, as he was often called, was one who acted most like a samurai. He wore a black hakama that went above his waist. Around his waist was a yellow obi. Red metal boots could be seen on his feet. Over his upper legs were red metal plates that hung from large, red metal plating over his torso that had a yellow metal X across his chest. Over that he wore a large haori. The haori was white below the waist and on the lower arms. The upper part was yellow apart from the black stitching. At the middle of the haori, just below the neck to his mid-torso, were two flaps that were folded outward. The flaps were black with two parallel yellow lines near the top. The haori was also slightly tatted along the bottom. He also had large white gloves with black stitching on his hands. In two slits in the haori on the shoulders, two red metal plates, with the bottom half being yellow, stuck out. The final features were the red metal helmet he wore that had a metal yellow crescent and circle on his forehead, and his long orange hair that fell down his shoulders. His sword was large enough to be considered a broadsword. The handle was made of two red metal poles, about 1.5 feet in length, that were connected by other pieces of metal. The blade itself had a serrated edge. As he came out onto the field, waiting for his opponent to be announced, he started shouting. Come on. I can take whoever you throw at me. Bring it on. Naruto gave a gesture to the proctor before standing up. He walked to the edge of his seating area before jumping off. Kiku heard someone land behind him and turned to face his opponent. He was startled to see the Uzumaki stretching his arms out. Lord Uzumaki. What are you doing here? I'm stretching. Getting limber. Why? So I won't pull a muscle during our fight. You might want to get limber too. Kiku was now nervous. He hadn't expected to be fighting the Uzumaki. Naruto noticed his hesitation. You might want to draw that sword. When he says begin, I will begin. Naruto said. Kiku nodded before steeling his resolve and drawing his sword. Begin. Naruto rushed in. Kiku quickly tried to bring his sword down on Naruto from above. Naruto quickly stopped and grabbed the sword between his two flat palms. He extended his leg and kicked Kiku in his chest while letting go of the sword. The young boy was sent flying. When he landed, Kiku was quick to get back on his feet in time to block Naruto's fist with the flat of his sword. He copied Naruto by taking the opportunity to send Naruto flying. However, Naruto landed on his feet. Naruto instantly disappeared. Kiku looked around, trying to find his opponent. If this was real, and I was a merciless enemy, you would already be dead. Naruto's voice said. Kiku felt the top of his head and felt a boot. Naruto had been standing on top of his head, not moving or flinching. He had stood there with his arms folded. Kiku tried to grab him but missed as Naruto flipped over and quickly grabbed Kiku's arm. He quickly twisted it and folded it against the boy's back. In moments he had disarmed the boy and done the same to his other arm. Kiku was now on his knees, the bottom of a boot pressing down in between his shoulder blades. Kiku, all of your classmates have fought Junin. Never assume you can simply take on any opponent simply because you have been trained. There is always someone who can beat you. There is always someone stronger, faster, and/or smarter than you. Never forget that even the greatest shinobi in history have had to block any kunai or shuriken aimed for vital locations. Nod if you understand my words, Naruto said. Kiku nodded. When Naruto released him, he was told to go sit with the other students. Now, Naruto said, you are all probably wondering why the Genin were forced to fight Junin and higher. He said, pointing to himself when he said higher. The reason is because I already know that these students are strong, have passed the tests, and can hold the ground. I wanted to see what they would do in the face of overwhelming odds. I wanted to see what they would do during their matches, even if they knew there was no way they could win. They fought to the best of their abilities, and that is what matters. Never compromise, even in the face of Armageddon. I would now like to announce that all of the hopefuls who participated in this exam have all been promoted to the rank of Genin. Congratulations, he said before starting to clap. Everyone in the stands were instantly clapping or shouting their own congratulations. In moments Naruto had leapt back up to where his friends waited. See Roku. All went as it was supposed to. They have all already been tested for their strength, speed, intelligence, and such. This exam was to test their resolve more than anything else. I understand now, Roku said. Alright, let's go celebrate. Shall we? I myself am hungry. Break. Naruto, we already told you we couldn't tell you anything about her. It's bad enough we told you that we know she's alive. Ru said. I know that, Naruto said. I just want you to give her that letter I just gave you. They were in Naruto's office. Tell her what I told you. If she thinks it's important enough then fine. If not then you get reprimanded by her and destroy the letter. But I doubt that will happen. Just give her the message. Fine, Ru said before disappearing. All the pieces are falling into place, Naruto said to himself. Break. The woman sat in her room at the inn she had taken to for the night. She was about to change out of her black shirt and pants into something to sleep. She looked at the medallion in her hand before setting it down and moving towards her bag. Before she could get there, a red door appeared in front of her. What could Ru want at a time like this? She asked herself. When she walked through the door, she was on a platform in the center of a bridge with caves on either end. In front of her were Ru and the dragon boss summon. The boss summon for the dragons was a massive humanoid dragon that appeared to be wearing armor. It wore golden armor on its claws, both hands and feet, as well as mostly black armor everywhere else. Its wings almost appeared to be metal feathered wings, with small purple and gold coloring closer to the body, while the feathers at the end were a reddish-orange. Floating behind it by some invisible force was a golden, stylized disc. Hello Ru, Bahamut, she said. Yes, there is something we need to give you, Mikasa. Ru said. What is it? Naruto wanted us to give you a message. You told him about me. Only that you exist. Nothing else. Fine, what is this message? Ru gave her a small letter that he had been holding in his right hand. He said it was about your brother. Ru said. She quickly took the letter and started reading it. Hello Mikasa. I was able to get your name from the summoning contract. However, that's unimportant as I believe I know something about your brother, Akira Uzumaki. Meet me at the location below at the signified time and we shall see if I'm correct. Naruto Uzumaki, Shodai Mizukage. She looked at the location and thought about it. Thank you Ru. Mikasa said. I wonder what will happen now. She mumbled to herself. Break. Weeks had passed since the exam as Naruto put together his plan for the Akatsuki. He was ready for them. The only problem was that he had no doubt they were also ready for him. Shiva was starting to hover over a small forest as Naruto and everyone with them was about to disembark. Standing on the ledge of one of the platforms were Naruto, Hinata, Shino, Roku, Kamaji, Itachi, Karen, Yagura, and Fu. Though Karen had been set as the leader of the barrier team, Naruto had had her sign the dragon contract as well. He had told her that it was for the Uzumaki as a whole to use the contract to aid the village. Naruto, you've had me monitoring the barrier all this time. Is it a good idea to have me on the mission as well? Karen asked. Trust me, you and the rest of the Uzumaki are going to want to be with me later on. When the Shiva came low enough, they jumped off and landed in the trees. Naruto touched his ear to use the small radio. Shiva, you know the rendezvous location. Wait for us there, Naruto said. Of course, was the response he received. Naruto turned to look at the others. All right, let's head out. You all know the plan. We can't get into Am without being detected. The moment we get in, we move quickly. There was a collective, hi. Eventually Naruto and his team stood outside of a megacore, staring at the difference as the sky quickly became obscured with dense storm clouds. They could see the metal high-rises of the industrialized village standing in the rain. Naruto, what are we waiting for? I know the plan after we get in, but you haven't told me why we're waiting. Itachi said. Itachi, now that you are under my command, you need to understand that there is a plan in everything. Naruto said before a four of people entered the clearing. And I love it when a plan comes together. Chronicle, nice of you to join us. Naruto said to the man at the front of the group. Chronicle already had his black cloak on with the hood over his head. At his sides were Meizu, Gozu, and Angela. The plan you sent to me was a little last minute, Naruto. Chronicle said. Of course it was, Naruto said with an amused tone. I felt like seeing how quickly you would react to the new plan. Next time I want some warning. Chronicle said as he turned to Itachi. Don't look at me. I only learned about the plan a short while ago. Itachi said, holding his hands up defensively. All right, Naruto said, we're all here. We have work to do and villages to infiltrate. You all know the plan. Instantly most of them were gone, leaving Naruto, Hinata, and Shino standing in the clearing. Come on. Itachi has his part, Chronicle has his, the rest have theirs, and we have ours. Naruto said. Break. Itachi opened the doors and stood before Pain. The two stood there for a moment before Pain spoke. Itachi, where are the Kyuubi Jinchuriki and Kisame? Itachi sighed. Kisame is currently the guest of the Jinchuriki, who is waiting for you to meet him. Are you telling me that you are here on his behalf? Yes, I am. I could kill you and still know where to find him. You know that. You are going to want to hear what he has to say, and he will be less likely to talk if I'm dead. Itachi said, turning to walk out the door he had come into. You can follow, or you can kill me. Either way, he is waiting. Break. Kabuto, how are the experiments coming along? Orochimaru asked. Project Deadman is currently yielding very little results. So far we have only had one survivor out of the several hundred. The only problem is that he has yet to exhibit any of the physical enhancements we had hoped for. Kabuto said. Well, if he doesn't show any promise, you may proceed to further the experimentation of the surviving subject. Well, he didn't show any of what we were looking for, but there is more to my report. Kabuto said, moving a large monitor on a cart in front of Orochimaru. When he turned on the monitor, a video played. There was a man laying down on a table, the first person to have actually survived the experiments. He laid there for a moment before convulsing violently. People with large devices over their eyes, and wearing large white robes ran over to him to see what was happening to their prized subject. He pulled against his restraints until his wrists started pouring out blood. Orochimaru couldn't believe what was happening. The man's blood shot up around him and lashed out at everything. The blood became sharp and solid, yet at the same time fluid. It not only ripped through the people around him and the restraints, but it also cut him across the chest. The cuts on his chest released more blood, in turn creating more tendrils that ripped around the room. Everyone around him fell, dead. With them dead, the tendrils attacked the walls, creating a large gash as pieces fell away. Holes opened up as the now unrestrained man stood up and staggered towards one of the large ones. He stopped and looked down at the blood flying from his wounds and ripping everything apart. His hands flew to his face as he covered his eyes with clenched hands and started screaming. Oto Shinobi appeared and tried to restrain him again. His left eye looked out through a gap in between his fingers. He looked out at the shinobi before the blood flying around the room stopped. It all flew to him, condensed around him. After a second it shot out and ripped the screaming shinobi apart. The severed pieces scattered across the room and smeared the walls with blood. The man kept screaming before stumbling towards the hole to keep trying to escape. He stopped once again and started screaming louder than before and dropped to the ground, convulsing. His screams died and he stopped moving as more people in white coats came to get the man back on the table and under restraints. His blood fell to the floor and pulled around him, his wounds closing up rapidly. The video stopped. From what we can tell, the man lost consciousness due to blood loss. Kabuto said. He has been under heavy sedation ever since. How long ago was this? Orochimaru asked. A little over 2 weeks before you got back. I want you to proceed with the experimentation. Get his blood to experiment with it, monitor him, and do whatever you need to in order to figure out what happened. I want to know what exactly that is. Break. Pain stood on the small island with the rest of his paths. The island wasn't really an island, barely big enough for his paths and Itachi to stand on. The small chunk of land itself was several miles away from out in the ocean. Where is he, Itachi? He will be with you in a moment, Itachi said before disappearing in a murder of crows. Pain waited a moment before looking down into the water. He could see the surrounding water becoming saturated with chakra. His eyes widened before all of the paths launched into the air. Tsuten, Uzumaki destruction, a voice yelled. The water below started spinning rapidly, ripping the small island apart. Pain estimated that the resulting vortex had to have a radius of half a mile, the small island the center. It went on for a few moments before it all erupted. Doton, field of spears. The vortex was disrupted as sharp towers of stone erupted out of the water. They launched themselves upward, even branching to create even more towers. To avoid them, the animal path used a summoning fire, a large bird, to appear and lift it higher into the air. The Naruto path was instantly impaled in the chest by one of the towers. The tower in its chest branched out, splitting the path into pieces. The Preta path grabbed onto the spear about to go through his chest, quickly absorbing the chakra fueling it. As the stone stopped moving, other stone spears branched out from other towers and ripped the path apart. The human path flipped over and landed on one of the towers, launching at him. He ran downward, dodging any of the branched of spears that tried to impale him. The Asura path pulled up its sleeve as the metal plate that made up its arms peeled back for a cannon to emerge and fire off a large blast of yellow. The incoming spears were destroyed. The path kept firing them to destroy the branches that tried to come after it. The main path, Deva path, held his hands out. Shinra Tensei. The remaining paths were able to land on small patches of unoccupied water as the towers came to a stop. Futon, Chaos Storm. A blast of wind blew the paths of their feet as the stone towers were destroyed and the ocean thrown into a frenzy. The panes were forced under the water. Deva saw the Preta path try to keep itself up, however, the inner mechanisms not only weighed it down, but filled with water. Within moments it sank into the abyss. As the storm raged on the surface, Naruto stood there. I will need to thank Chronicle for this. Raiten, Destruction's light. The wind started to condense as chakra constructed clouds that started to build electrical currents. Naruto directed them down into the water. Pain didn't know where it was coming from, but the electricity that was frying the animal path was arching towards him and the human path. Deva quickly pulled the human path closer before launching his Shinra Tensei. The sphere pushed the water outward, allowing the two remaining paths to land on the surface of the water as it came rushing back in. Pain looked over and saw the man standing several hundred yards away, black clots and white robe flapping in the wind. It took a moment for him to realize it was Naruto Uzumaki. Then he saw the man flash through hand signs before speaking. His tone sounded sadistic and quiet as he spoke. Kaiten, Desolation. A wave of fire launched outward, already picking up billows of steam. Deva was underwater just before the fire hit him, though his left arm was slightly burned on his way down. He could feel the once freezing water starting to boil around him. The human path was not as lucky. Through his shared vision he could see the very flesh melt off of the human path's hands. It wasn't long before he lost his link with said path. After several moments he saw the searing light from the fire die down, allowing him to float back to the surface and regain his footing. He saw the ocean itself was steaming all around him. Had this been used on land, the destruction would have been a sight to wonder at. Naruto was closer now. I have to say you lasted longer than expected. I was hoping we could do a little one-on-one before we talk. I spent quite a bit of chakra on those jutsu, especially bringing the stone towers up from the sea floor. That took a good bit out of me. Now what do you say we do this with a nice battlefield? he said before the water below them started to glow. Pain looked down to see a writhing mass. A moment later and he saw that the mass was made up of thousands of chains, or one very long one, twisting against each other in the form of a massive cube. As the glowing, golden chains came to the surface they locked together. The cube breached the surface for them to stand on before stopping. I was told you wanted to talk. Pain said. Oh, I do, but not to you. To your real face. Naruto said. Pain paused. So you deceived me. No, I made sure that everything went according to plan. Naruto suddenly gripped his wrist as a light blue, almost white sphere formed in his hand. Over time I took the Rasengan and made it more flexible. Naruto said before charging. Pain jumped over him. Naruto put his right foot down in front of him and spun around. He bolted and drove the Rasengan into Pain's back. It quickly expanded and dug in before exploding. Pain was launched forward before flipping over to land on his feet. One of the biggest improvements I made to the jutsu was to be able to condense its form into a ball of pure destruction. Some other improvements have been made. But that's unimportant for the time being. Naruto said. Naruto pulled a sword out of his robe before reaching into the ceiling array and pulling out an already drawn sword. He quickly dashed forwards. Pain sent out another gravitational sphere. Naruto disappeared in a bright flash of black and white before the Pain felt the sword go through its back. Pain turned around and kicked Naruto in the stomach. Naruto's sword had been taken from his grip when Pain turned around. It was still in his back and through his right set of ribs. Naruto rushed in and tried to deliver another punch. Before he could get close, some of the chains underneath him loosened and wrapped up his legs. He braced himself as Pain sent out another sphere, much larger than before. The moment it ended, Naruto's legs were released and he went in again. Naruto delivered a particularly heavy blow to Pain's head. Pain knew that part of the skull in the Deva path had to have been broken. As they faced each other, several explosions went off in the distance. Pain looked towards the direction of the source of the explosions. Naruto sighed. Chronicle, I told you to subdue Deidara in particular before the fights went too far. What are you doing over there? Naruto turned around, only for a fist to impact his face. He was sent back a few feet. My village is becoming a war zone now because of you. Pain said. You were the one who alerted the rest of the Akatsuki, as I knew you would. Don't you dare blame that on me. I just needed to get to the real you. My orders were for them to avoid any and all damage. Your people are the ones destroying the village. Tell them to stand down so that we can speak face to face. My goal was to have your paths out of the way so that we could talk. My other people were brought in case the rest of the Akatsuki was a problem. I brought your paths out here as a courtesy. My goal was never to damage the village. Tell them to stand down so that we can talk. Then I won't have to destroy this path as well. Break. Naruto stood before Nagato and Conan. His team, including Chronicle, who had his hood down, and his people, stood along the walls. Nagato was getting out of his mobile throne, the usage of his paths no longer keeping him immobile. Well, Nagato Uzumaki, I'm very happy to finally meet you. Naruto said. I think it's about time you and I had a conversation. What about? Nagato asked. Before we get to the heart of things, I want to know why you formed the Akatsuki. Naruto asked the now standing Nagato. Why? I thought that the answer to that question would be obvious to you of all people. I want to understand you. Granted, I don't think it will change my goals in the slightest. But I hope it will allow me to change your own. What are you after? Nagato asked. He looked skeptical. All I want is to bring an end to corruption, destroy Konoha, and rebuild. Rebuild what exactly? Everything. Nagato looked at him, wondering what exactly he meant. Fine, then I will tell you why. But later, I want to know exactly what you mean by that. Break. So you created the Akatsuki to bring about peace through the fear of your weapon. I have a better idea. Naruto said. I would like you to join me. Both as an Uzumaki, and someone with similar goals. You want me to join you? Yes, and I want you to bring the Akatsuki to my side as well. We can't have such destructive people on the loose. I also want to allow you to see a truth that Madara has hidden from you. What truth? The truth of the Juubi he has you trying to resurrect. Explain. First off, I should explain that the Madara you have been dealing with is a fake. We're not sure who he is, though I have built up some theories. Naruto said, remembering his spies reporting similar abilities used by Kakashi of the Sharingan as the one Madara used. It gave Naruto a good idea. The point is that the real Madara died a long time ago. Now to the Juubi I mentioned. Do you know what the Biju are? Second question, do you know what the statue you were planning to seal the Biju into is? Nagato looked into the corner at Itachi. Itachi nodded. He had told Naruto everything he knew. Apparently, whatever I know about them is either wrong, or a half-truth. What exactly is it that I'm missing? Nagato asked. You were right when you said that they would create a weapon, but not one that you could control. Madara would most likely not allow it. The statue is the husk that once made up the body of the Juubi. The form from which that 9 Biju were created by the Sage of 6 Paths. He then sealed the husk in the moon. By rejoining them you would recreate a monster that has the potential to destroy everything. Though, I have a theory that Madara has a specific purpose for it. As well as for you, or rather your eyes. What are you talking about? I won't go into detail at this exact moment for 2 reasons. The first is that you are not yet my ally, and the second is that I don't like the prying eye in the corner over there. Naruto said. They all turned to where he pointed. Come on Madara, materialize so that we can sense you and chat. Naruto said. He didn't like how difficult it was to detect Madara when he was in his intangible state. Conventional sensory techniques did nothing to detect the man. The man who had been going as Toby for the past few years walked out of the shadows and looked around. A noticeable difference was a slash across the mask he wore. Madara stood there without making a sound. Come on Madara. You aren't still mad about our last run in a U. I thought you would have gotten over that little scratch. Naruto said in a cheerful tone. Naruto started laughing as he remembered the last time the two had encountered each other. Naruto had been able to antagonize the man enough to make the man talk about him being Madara, as well as the night he tried to destroy Konoha the night he was born. Naruto had even been able to draw out the fight long enough to scratch the man's mask. It had been useful experience against the man. Madara had actually tried to recruit him. He had tried to get Naruto to not only come with him willingly, but also to work for him until he was no longer needed. Perhaps you could reconsider my offer. Madara said, brushing off his comment. No. Perhaps you could tell me what your plan is. Maybe you could tell me why I should reconsider. Nagato, could you help me subdue the Jinchuriki now? The plan must proceed. No Madara. I have never trusted you. And I will no longer serve you either. Nagato said. Madara let out a small sigh. You want to know my plan? You already know most of the details thanks to these traitors. I see no harm in telling you what you most likely know, if what you said is true. The plan is called Tsuki no Mi. The Eye of the Moon plan, in which I will create the infinite dream world of the infinite Tsukuyomi. I will bring about the perfect world. Now just surrender. Well Madara, now that I have confirmed that your plan is what I thought it was, maybe I can recruit you. You once brought Kisame to your side by telling him you would create a world without lies. Now I will try to do the same, though to a different degree. With the notes of the sage I was able to discover the true purpose of the infinite Tsukuyomi. With you gathering Biju I figured that had to be the end game. Naruto spread his arms outward before smiling. Its purpose was to create a monster beyond even your control, or the original Madara. To resurrect the mother of the sage. What are you talking about? Madara asked. Oh, yes, the real Madara probably left that detail out. Though I doubt he knew it himself. Naruto said before pulling out a scroll and tossing it to Madara. Take a look at that and get back to me. I will leave a section of the barrier down just for you. In that scroll is everything you need to know about your false plan. He said before Madara disappeared. Naruto, would you mind telling me what just happened? Chronicle asked. He could see that Nagato was on his side now, if just barely. Chronicle, I just made the organization you wanted to destroy, my ally. I told you that it was possible with the correct motivation. Naruto Uzumaki, I have yet to decide what side I fall on. Do not be so quick to call me your ally. Regardless, you are no longer an enemy. Not to mention that I have faith in you to not allow the members of the Akatsuki to run wild. For now, he cut himself off. He smiled. My other incentive has arrived. If my calculations are correct, then I have assembled every last living Uzumaki together in one room. He said before the room flashed black and white. A clone stood there with a woman. The woman had short red hair and dark blue eyes. Hello Mikasa. I'm so glad you could come. Now, perhaps you could tell me whether or not I was correct. He's right over there, Naruto said, pointing at Chronicle. Chronicle had frozen as his eyes locked with those of Mikasa. She said something. One word. Akira. Mikasa and Akira were two words that sent his mind reeling. He saw the memory from before. He saw his older sister, her short red hair. He saw his father, a monstrous man trying to avenge his fallen wife with the power of a sage. He saw the wings on his father's back envelop him before the smell of burning flesh attacked his senses. He saw Ru take them to someone he trusted. He saw everything. He snapped. Akira, it is you, right? It's been a long time, but I can still tell somehow. Mikasa said. Chronicle didn't respond at first. Then he fell to his knees, releasing a loud scream. Mikasa's eyes widened in panic. No, you need to restrain him. Now, she said. Chronicle gripped his head and continued screaming. He started seeing his family dying, repeatedly. He even saw Mikasa, as she died. He saw her die, and the people responsible for it. They would all die. He would find them, and they would all die. A dark aura started surrounding Chronicle as his screams became deeper, and rougher. His black robe started being torn away as black armor started to form around him. The armor was pitch black armor with a rustic helmet with a thinly carved slit displaying a ghastly red glow. The armor appeared to be the work of the delicate and nuanced workmanship of its smith's utmost effort, succeeding in granting it an air of formidability and a fine construction. It was a perfect set of armor that could be called neither exquisite nor crude, and it instead perfectly melded magnificence and functionality. It was carved with countless marks and scratches, the highlights of various military exploits etched into it to add a touch of valor. It was, in a way, an ideal battle outfit. Slits between the plating of the armor began to release a glow similar to the one from the slit over his eyes. The aura of black intensified as Chronicle stood up and released another yell, though it sounded more like the roar of an animal. His yelling stopped all of a sudden before looking at Mikasa. He was instantly gone, reappearing with his hand gripping Mikasa's throat. He had her lifted off the ground. I saw you die. I saw you die. His graveled voice said, the tone was low and dark. You thought you did. I was severely injured, but not killed. You did what you're doing now, you killed some of them and chased the others away. But then you disappeared. I've been looking for you for so long. She said as best she could. I don't believe you, he said, drawing one of his swords. The sword had turned black, red veins running along the blade. His grip on her neck was gone as he turned around to slash his blade at Naruto, who had come up behind him to try to stop him. Naruto jumped back before drawing his own sword and coming back. He blocked Chronicle's sword with his own before creating a Rasengan in his other hand and shoving it into the man's face. Chronicle was sent into the wall before his armor faded. He was unconscious. Don't worry, whatever that armor was protected him from the attack. It's a good thing that whatever was happening to him caused him to go berserk, or that fight would have taken longer. Naruto said. He then looked at Mikasa. Whatever just happened to him, you knew about it. I expect an explanation. Naruto said. And you'll get one. Mikasa said. But perhaps I could also get an explanation for why you decided to gather us all here. Oh, that. I wanted to finally bring the Uzumaki together. We have a lot of work to do, and not much time. Why sold that matter to me? You sound like you're trying to challenge me. Perhaps you should first hear the word of those who just helped you, rather than snap at them. Naruto said. Now, I believe explanations are needed for all present. Let's begin. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.